Hello, and thank you so much for joining our live training that we have here with Amanda Clark. She's going to be talking to us all about decluttering and organizing and some common roadblocks that we encounter when we're trying to get rid of some stuff and we find it super duper hard. So I hope you find this training valuable, and I'm so happy for you to meet Amanda. We are live. Da da da.
Hey,
Hello, internet
Annie.
world. Ah, yes, there we are. Perfect. There's always that little bit of echo because then I have to get our comment chat on a separate device or else it
Oh,
lags.
okay.
There's so much. We're moving pieces here. Hi, guys. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're live, leave us a little comment in the chat box and just let us know that you're here and that you're watching. We're so happy to have you here on this, what is it, Thursday? I can't even remember this week. Thursday evening. I thought
Something like
yesterday
that.
was Saturday for like a whole 12 hours.
Oh my
So that's
gosh.
how out of it I am. Hey,
Uh,
Kelsey. Cool. Alrighty. So I'm here with the lovely Miss Amanda joining us all the way from Orange County through the magic of the interwebs. Kelsey, Maria, hey, hey, cool. So, Amanda, I'm gonna let you kind of introduce yourself to the community a little bit here. Just tell us a little bit about
yeah.
who you are and what your area of genius is.
Oh, great. Yes, thank you so much for having me. I mentioned that I tried to set up lighting and I feel like it's a little spooky, so but we're going with it. I own Ever So Organized, and it's a full service home organizing business based out of Orange County, California. And I specialize in decluttering and creating beautiful, functional, and organized spaces for homeowners, for families, for professionals. Everybody needs organizing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I saw even on your homepage that you do like virtual organizing. Is that a thing?
I do. Yes. So no matter where you are, we can work together.
That is so
Yes. That
cool.
is really fun because we set up the computer and I'm there with clients as they are going through their drawers, their kitchen cabinets. And we've talked ahead of time. I've given them a list of items. I think that if they do need to buy things, they know what to get. And then I'm helping guide them how to organize their space. Yeah, it's been working out really well. It's been fun.
That is so cool. Yeah, I know. I was wondering, I didn't quite understand at first. I was like, is she organizing people's drop boxes? Like, because I could use that too if I
Right.
needed.
Right. Yeah.
That's so
Digital
funny. Oh, that's
organizing.
cool
Yeah.
though. So you can all
Yeah.
check Amanda out and work with her from wherever you are. Most of us are based. We have a lot of us that are based out of Indiana too. This is where I went to college, and then also New Orleans. 'Cause that's where I've been based out of for the last quite a few years. And so we have a lot of Southern girls here as well, but also a lot of women that have more recently so moved over to your coast of the world too. So it's nice that we have
Great.
this ability to connect with you from all over. So
Yeah. Yeah.
let's just dive right into it, shall we? So, I wanted to ask you first and foremost, before we get into the nitty gritty, why you would argue that decluttering is important for some people, because I think it can be one of those things that kind of falls to the wayside pretty easily.
Yeah. And, we all are in different times of our lives. And, there's times you're coming out of college and you are consuming. You're going to Target and you're getting the cleaning supplies and the toilet plunger and the shoe rack, and you're trying to get things, but it so quickly happens where you turn around and you're like, wait, why do I have all this stuff? And especially with kids, that's when it really happened for me, because I've always been organized, but having kids, it was like, no. Somehow we just ended up with all this stuff. And so there's times that it creeps up on us, and being able to declutter gives you control over your space. And I'll talk a little more about my journey, but I have found where I actually gain um, calm and I'm more centered when I declutter. I do not find myself going shopping, heading to the mall, heading to Target to, oh, I've had a rough day. Instead, my brain has switched. I'm like, okay, what do I have too much of? And if I can let things go, I feel lighter, I feel better, I feel more in control of all that. So it's a cheaper way to be feeling more calm.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed the like mental and emotional connection to it as well. Because to give you just some context about our community here, a lot of us are identify as being very like soul or heart centered women. So we focus a lot on spirituality and wellness and things of that nature. And one of the reasons why I thought that then you would fit so perfectly into this is because I do see decluttering as an act of like taking care of yourself, both mentally and emotionally. And I think that that is just a really powerful realization for people too from the beginning as well. So I'm glad that you brought that up for sure. Yeah.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. Taking care of yourself, self care, and the things that you have decided to have around you. It's all very powerful.
Yeah. Cheyenne says, hey, hi Cheyenne, thanks for joining. Cheyenne, you mentioned that you work with homeowners in particular. Cheyenne just bought a beautiful new home for herself there in Atlanta. It looks like a little like witchy cottage, and I'm so in love with it. So she
Oh,
just joined
nice.
us. So hopefully she'll be able to take some organizational tips for her new home
Yes.
today. So we chatted before a little bit before this, you and I, and you said that there were really these kind of three main roadblocks that people hit when we're trying to declutter. And so can you dive into those a little bit for us?
Um, yes. May I step back and kind of share my own story on how I got
Please.
there, and then hopefully, your community can connect more either with my story and then getting into physical, and then, oh yes, I will share with you how to
Absolutely.
get into the box. Um, so I actually worked for 15 years as an elementary school teacher in the public schools here in Orange County, California, and also on Oahu in Hawaii. And I then had 3 babies in 20 months. And if you're trying to do the math, I did have twins. So I had 5-year-old twins and a 4-year-old. And I was hoping to share a teaching contract and work part-time because it did take me years to successfully have these babies. And I never was able to get that lined up where I could work part-time as a teacher. So I did resign. And I was pregnant with my third child, and we were moving. We had a 1,000-square-foot house, and we were doubling the size and moving to my dream home. And I wanted to declutter, but my pregnancies are always tough. And I like going through one closet was just too much. And so a friend had actually used a professional organizer. And I'm like, oh, that sounds awesome. I need that. Little did I know one day that's what I would be doing. But she came into my home and she started going through my DVDs, and she's like, so do you need these? Do you have Netflix? Can you watch these on Netflix? And it had not even occurred to me. I'm like, you buy DVDs, you move DVDs, you move them again. No, I don't watch them. Oh, okay, maybe I don't need to keep these things. And so that was an eye opener for me. And then I love a good community, and so I was part of a few new mother communities, and women knew that I like to be organized, and soon enough they started asking like, oh, I just moved, can you help me? And so I started helping these women, and I'm like, oh, this is just as much fun doing this for other people as my own home. And because I had worked with that professional organizer, I'm like, this is a thing. I can make a business with this. And so actually, I think it's in 1 week is my 3-year business anniversary of my first paid client. Yay. And so I started that. But I would say the main reason getting into this, as a teacher, I like to help people. In that community, I would like to help these other moms. And like I said, somehow the stuff just gets overwhelming. And I was so thrilled to be home with my babies, but I quickly found myself overwhelmed. I'm like, why do I feel like I'm always cleaning up? Why do I feel like I'm always moving the toys? I felt like I was cleaning up after motherhood and not really engaged. Like I wasn't on the floor playing with my kids because, I have time, so I'm going to clean up. And so that's when I really started looking into minimalism along with the organization, and they go hand in hand because you can keep organizing all your stuff, but if you have too much stuff, you're just going to keep organizing it. And so as I started, like we talked about letting go of things, I felt this peace. And I'm like, this is it. This is good for my kids. This is good for me. This is good for my husband. And I wanted to share that with other women, other moms, other professionals. And I've been able to do that these last few years. So that's what got me into this fun organizing. But today I your community actionable steps, not just organizing and decluttering is good for you. Like you guys are going to have jobs to do when you're done watching this.
Yes, we love homework.
Yeah, good. So we're going to talk about physical clutter and helping you lead a simpler and more intentional life. And are you planning on, is it in a couple weeks you're going to do the van life?
We're leaving in a week. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So you're like in the middle of this, like what is important to me? Like,
yeah,
that is the most extreme, like, oh no, you have to choose what book, what piece of clothing, like that's awesome. So hopefully maybe this will help inspire you a little bit, but you're probably on your way.
We're trying. It's funny, as we're speaking, my partner's right behind the computer with us. He's going through all of his clothes, trying to pick his 5 outfits that he's going to bring in the van with it. It's
awesome. Funny. Well, speaking of the physical clutter, it was really interesting. So years ago, UCLA did a study on the clutter in homes. And they found that the amount of clutter in a woman's home directly correlated with her stress levels, her stress hormones. So if you are feeling like, oh my gosh, this clutter is stressing me out, it is taking a physical toll on you. And funny enough, it did not really take that toll on the men. It was very much a female thing, which I think sometimes I feel like I see the clutter and my husband's like, oh, whatever. So it does affect women differently. And one really interesting thing they talked about was they could look at somebody's refrigerator, and based on how much stuff they had on the refrigerator, the magnets, the coupons, the papers, that also correlated with how much stuff was in their house. So I actually don't have anything on my fridge. Off to the side, I have a magnet board that I put things, but nothing's on my fridge. And then I'll go into clients' homes and it's covered, and I'm like, yep, we've got a lot of work to do.
The fridge is the indicator. That's funny.
Yes. Yeah. So I have this quote from Peter Walsh, who has written books and has been on television and with Oprah talking about clutter. And he says, clutter is not just the stuff on your floor, it's anything that stands between you and the life that you want to be living. And I just love that, because it is more than just stuff. Oh, it's okay, it's just stuff, we'll figure it out. Like I said, it's taking a toll on you, it's affecting your intentional life. I get to go into clients' homes and they're showing me that cupboard, that closet, that room that they don't even show their best friend. Somebody comes over and they close that door, and it takes a while for people to be like, okay, I need help. Like, I call somebody to help me with my taxes. I could figure it out, but I'm not a professional at that. I want help. And so I'm always impressed when people do make that step where they ask for help. Like, I can't do this, I need your help. And for years I thought, okay, maybe people have clutter and they're disorganized, just they don't have time. And then it wasn't until I was an adult where I'm like, no, not everybody is born with that organized gene, that it doesn't come naturally. And it's definitely something that can be learned, but I get it. I'm like, oh, I really can help someone, because even though that seems very simple to me, that might be a game changer for someone else. So hopefully some things we talk about be a game changer. And I just wanted to share, I do have this. Oh, hi, how are you?
She came in to say hey.
Yeah. I have this PDF, and Sierra has a link to this. And it's kind of a summary of what I'm going to talk about. So, there's no need to take notes, or if you don't have time to rewatch it. This is what I'm going to talk about, and then there'll be a link on the Facebook, right?
Yeah, I just dropped it in the comments, so it should
Perfect.
show up in there now. Yep. Yeah.
And we'll talk about it more, but I do a lot on Instagram. And so my Instagram at Ever So Organized is a good place to find. I have a link to this PDF, other free PDFs, products that I recommend, and lots of fun before and after. So those are always good, like right before bed, like, oh, get that calmness.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's dive into those 3 roadblocks. You're ready to let go. You get it. Yes, this stuff is stressing me out. Do not dive into your memories. That is not a good place to start. In fact, that should be the last place. If you are actually doing a whole decluttering of your house, leave that to the end, because decluttering, organizing, it's like a muscle, and you need to build that muscle before you get to things that loved ones have given you, people that are no longer here, good memories, bad memories. So I'm just saying, don't dive into that. But your closet, I always recommend like the bathroom, because it's usually non-emotional, and you've got that makeup that you've had since junior high, that's somewhere in there. Nail polish that you have said, oh, well, I like this color. If I can't get to a nail salon, I'll do it. And nail salons have been closed in much of the country. And I want you to ask yourself, have you used that nail polish? So that's a really good place to start. If you've got a laundry room, that can be good. Kitchen, I would wait, especially if you are sharing that space with somebody. Do not go into decluttering somebody else's stuff. We can go into that, but so as you're starting to look at these things and let them go, one of the roadblocks that I find people get stuck on is if you feel bad because you spent money on it. and it seemed like something that was kind of a splurge, it was expensive, and you feel guilty that you haven't used that piece of clothing, that kitchen tool, whatever it may be. And I do have clients say, oh, that was so expensive. And then they keep it. And I have to remind them the money has already been spent. You're not throwing that money out right now. So you've spent that money, and it may have been $1,000 or $10, whatever you feel like, you feel bad because you didn't get everything out of that, that you wanted. And we're all human. We all do that. We all go to Target and see that really cute whatever. We're like, yes, this is going to improve my life somehow. And then we realize, no, it just became clutter. So I actually tell people to let that kind of sting a little bit, so that the next time you are at Target, or the next time you walk past that shop that you got that item at that you're not using, that you're going to remember, oh, I felt so yucky just giving that away, taking that to Goodwill, throwing it away, or whatever. So it's a good little reminder. I don't want anybody to sit in guilt, but just go, okay, that didn't feel good. I need to be more thoughtful when I am purchasing that. Can you think of anything that you maybe feel bad about getting rid of, that like, oh, it was more money than I want to admit?
Yeah, I think mine was mostly clothes, the most part. I have gotten a lot better at it now since I've known that I was moving into a 75 square foot space for like the
I
last
bet.
year
I
now.
bet.
So I've gotten a lot better at it, but my main thing was clothes, because I was really into, fashion when I was in college, and things of that nature. So yeah, I did like splurge on, some like handbags or shoes or whatever, and then it turns out that I wasn't like living a lifestyle that called for a Michael Kors bag anymore, and I never used it. I felt weirder using it than just using, my Goodwill bag. So yeah,
Right.
but I felt
Right.
bad. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. You
but
held
I
on
think
to things longer.
I ended up reselling them too, which kind of helped me feel a little bit better about it, I guess, because then I was able to resell it so that it didn't feel like a waste. I knew someone else was going to use it, and then I kind of got some of the money back in a sense. So that helped me out a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that. I will take clothes to consignment for clients, and they will, it's a good way of like a lot of clothes at once. They'll get some money. And then like I would wear, silk blouses and slacks. Because I mostly taught upper grade, so I wasn't on the ground with kindergartners or anything. And I really like those. And then I would look and be like, look at all those slacks. Like, what am I going to, is that a date night outfit? Like, it took me a long time to let go of the slacks. I'm like, okay, this is not, I don't need this anymore. And then things like that, if you're changing, like everybody is working at home now and you don't need all the working clothes. Working wardrobes is a really good place where people are trying to get jobs. We had a local one that actually burned down earlier in the year. And so we just, organizers, we were just bringing them a lot of items. And yeah, it does feel good. Somebody can use this. And I would advise everybody listening to not let that slow you down, because the main thing here is going to be getting rid of these things. And if you go, okay, I need to take that to Goodwill, and I need to take that to working wardrobes, and that's going to be for my sister, and this is going to be for the neighbor, and it sits in your car or garage for 6 months, just take it all to one place. If you do have time to sell things, or things like that, I do that all the time, but the main thing here is just getting it out of your space. So the first one is money. Spent money on that. And the other one is gifts. Somebody gave you something as a gift, and you maybe don't even like it. It maybe makes you feel guilty when you see it, or it's not your color, or it's not anything that you would have bought. And it's so funny because clients will be going through things. Oh, well, a friend gave that to me. Do you like it? Not really. What do you want to do with it? Oh, I should keep it because they might come over. And I always tell them gifts do not come with these rules. So if I'm giving you a gift, I'm not going to say, okay, here you go. I'm going to be back in a month to make sure you have it displayed and that it's out for everyone to see, and you need to love it and enjoy it and use it all the time. I'm not allowed to do that. And some clients are like, yeah, you don't know my mother-in-law. Or you don't know my mom, because sometimes people do like, well, why did you get rid of that? And that can be really sticky. But the reality is they're not allowed to, if it is a gift, they're not allowed to give you parameters on that. And all that you are obligated to do is to give them your thanks. And that can go to Goodwill the next day. You keeping it and feeling guilty or going, oh, it's so ugly, that's not what they want. They don't want to bring you pain. So, and then I also say for those moms or those mother-in-laws, if you are really working hard at getting rid of the clutter and you have someone in your life that is always bringing things, they just went to the dollar store and there's these great deals and they're bringing you all this stuff, that's a good time to sit down and have like a heart-to-heart conversation. Like, I'm spending a lot of time, maybe I'm bringing in an organizer, I'm spending a lot of money trying to get out from all this clutter, and I love that you show your love with presents, but it's causing me stress. So if you want to bring something for the kids, let's keep it at your house for them to play with. Or just be honest with them, like, I'm probably not going to keep it, so I don't want you to waste that money. So those conversations can be hard to have, but when you really, this is hard work when you are getting rid of these things, and there's always things coming in. If you live with humans, you need things coming into your house, but being able to kind of slow that with loved ones, it's good to have that conversation. And then I've got one more, but I'm wondering if you can guess what it is. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but spent money, gifts, what else do you think people have a really hard time getting rid of, or category?
Category of things. I don't know. Maybe like, well, memorable stuff, but that's the part that we're not doing right now.
Yeah.
Or is that it?
Yeah. Good guess. That's a good guess.
Or the only other thing that I would think is stuff that you would think that you could utilize it in some other way, because that's what my partner does all the time. He's like, oh, well, maybe I could use this to do something.
Yes.
Like something like that.
Exactly. It's items you're keeping just in case. And people's garages and attics and basements are filled with just in case items. This is why most people here in California do not park in their garages, because they're filled with just in case, and you don't have to protect your car from the weather. So just throw it in the garage, keep throwing things in the garage. So there's this great rule by the Minimalists, two gentlemen that have a documentary out about minimalism, and they have this 20-20 rule, which I think is great. And the idea is, if you can replace that item for under $20 in 20 minutes, let it go. Or if you could 2-day Amazon ship something, you don't need to keep that item just in case. So that's a good one. And like letting those little things go, the extra scissors, the extra hammer, everybody has more than one thing, and there's really no use in having that, because you're more likely to take care of that one hammer or that one pair of scissors. If you've got a bunch, you're less likely to do that. So it's the biggest creator of clutter and stress. And people keep these things like camping equipment for years. And it's like, when was the last time you went camping? Oh, yeah, I don't know, like 4 or 5 years ago. And of course, there's things that you use all the time. You know, those aren't just in case items, those are, you know, some of your favorite things. But instead of keeping the camping equipment, can you borrow the camping equipment? Can you rent the camping equipment instead of it cluttering up your spaces? There's usually other ways of doing that. I live in a very tight-knit neighborhood, and we used to have parties, you know, 3 or 4 times a year. My neighbors have the chairs and the tables. I've never owned those. Hey, can we? They're always invited. You know, hey, can we use this for the next party? Sure. Like, you know, I'm getting use out of it, but yet I don't have to store it. So, you know, thinking if there is an alternative, and people are always afraid of, maybe your partner, worried once they get rid of it, they're going to regret it, right? Then the camping trip happens and they're like, oh, I had that tent. Or you're keeping that favorite pair of jeans that you don't quite fit into. And remember, you're seeing those pair of jeans and it's making you feel guilty. I can't fit into it. I don't feel good about myself because here's this reminder. And so I think the fear is, well, what if I get rid of those pair of jeans and 6 months, a year and a half from now, I have lost that weight. I've worked so hard and I'm not going to have those pair of jeans. And there's going to be one day where you're like, oh man, I wish I had those. And then there's going to be that year and a half that it was not taking up room, right? That you weren't feeling guilty every time you went in your closet. It's the trade-off. It just doesn't make sense to keep just in case I get to that perfect size. Or maybe go camping. But you're less likely to actually regret letting that go than people think. They think it's just going to be a terrible thing. But I feel like people have really kind of thought about these just in case items in the past year, because they've kept the games and the puzzles and the massage equipment, the nail polish for, oh, just in case. When I have time, I'll do that. And then here you go. You have been, oh, you're going to be at home. Oh, you can't leave. You can't travel. You can't do all these things. And here is this time that you've been given. And so I'd love to give a list of a few of those items that you have maybe been keeping, that for just in case, just if I have time, and now is the time. And if you haven't used it, it's a good time to let it go. And maybe those are baking things. And maybe, people have gotten into baking and they're like, oh, I'm so glad I have these things. But there's a lot of things that people have not. So those like hydrating masks, if I have time, I'll put those on. Nail polish, we talked about that. Face care, makeup samples. I will go to Target, buy lipstick, and somebody working there is like, oh, here's, some trials. Oh, no, thank you. And the look I get, they're like, no, it's free. Oh, I know. No, thank you. Or at the dentist, they want to give you all the bag of stuff. I'm like, oh, no, that's okay. People don't get it. They're like, it's free. Why don't you want it? It's just clutter. It's that makeup that you have not tried that's in the back of your cupboard. single-use kitchen items, the popcorn makers, the panini makers. This is a great time to have a popcorn night, watch a movie. Have you actually, busted that out? Board games, card games, toys that the kids haven't played with. Okay, they've been stuck inside. Here's all these toys. Again, can you let these go to somebody down the street that could use it? Because that would feel really good to share the toys your kids don't need. We have had a horrible fire season here in Southern California. And so last week we had another fire, and I get a text from somebody in the neighborhood that there is somebody in their kindergarten class whose family lost their house the night before. And within hours, everyone is able to go through their homes. They had like a 2-year-old, a 5-year-old. Okay, here's the extra tube of toothpaste I was keeping. Am I going to use it eventually? Yes. Okay, somebody can use it. Here's that. Here's these toys. Here's these clothes that we've been hanging on to. It would just felt so good to like give to somebody who did not have anything. Back stock, if you're keeping that extra pasta, especially if you went shopping in the beginning of the pandemic and you're like, okay, I've never heard of this off-brand, but it's the only one left, so I'm gonna get that pasta sauce or whatever. I had a bunch of that where I'm like, what? I don't even know what this is. And so I was able to donate a lot of those when it became clear that we were gonna be able to get food that we needed. I donated a bunch of that to a food pantry. So look for those random foods that you that you picked up, and craft supplies, that craft you wanted to dive into, baking supplies, those massagers, the essential oils, the bath salts. Okay, if you haven't used your stress relievers in 2020, something that you're going to next year, like use them or let those go. CDs,
you're hitting all of us in the core here now, Amanda.
Just a couple more. The car wash supplies. Okay, have you been washing your own car? And finally, like the home workout stuff. If you aren't using those, you can sell those for a pretty penny because you can't get like weights anywhere. So if you're not using those things, this is a really good time to sell them. There are people that want to use it. So yes, so there's probably a few things on that list that you're like, okay, yep, I haven't been using the popcorn maker or whatever. So hopefully that'll give everybody some ideas on what to let go of.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know. I felt so seen in the individual moisturizing face masks. I was like, oh my god, I have like 3 of those upstairs because I'm trying to get rid of everything now. So I'm like, oh, I need to use these before we go, and I still have it. So I'm just whatever. But yeah, no, that was great. We do have a few questions. I'm gonna circle back. Cheyenne, I hope you're still here. Let me know if you are. Cheyenne's just bought her first home and is just moving in.
Right.
And she's talking about how she loves minimalism, but she also loves making beautiful spaces. So she was kind of wondering about, creating beautiful spaces. I'm going to assume, Cheyenne, correct me if I'm wrong, you're talking about like decorating and like knickknacks and things of that sort, but still being careful not to become, not to let that turn into clutter. So like, how do you sort of balance that line between decorating and then having the useless stuff?
So, I use the term minimalism, and most people automatically picture a white, stark room with one chair, nothing on the walls. And that doesn't need to be minimalism. Minimalism, in my thoughts, is only keeping things that you love, that are useful to you, that I'll say bring you joy, like Marie Kondo. It's true. Do these things make you happy? And that can mean I have a collection of, do you remember those floaty pens that you would like flip them upside down and things would move? And you used to be able to get them, when you traveled. And so I have a whole collection of those. I've got a collection of things, and people are like, "Ooh, what are these?" And I consider myself a minimalist, even with 3 children. And when people come into my home, the number one adjective they use is warm. I, I don't think my home is cold at all. And the trinkets, the things I have, make me really happy. I've been very intentional. I didn't go to Target and go, oh, I need something for that space. So I think moving into her new home and just taking it slow, the things she loved in her other home, finding places for that, but not going on a big shopping spree and just buying stuff to fill those corners. But yeah, it's the things you love, but not having the clutter. So it's totally doable.
Yeah, no, I totally understand when you do think of minimalism, because I also saw, I don't know if we're talking about the same documentary, but one on Netflix, and that was kind of the image that was portrayed as just like an all white room and like 3 pieces of furniture. They're like, this is
Yeah.
all you need. I'm like, well, yeah, probably, but like I like tapestries. Like I want it to look nice, you know? So I do
Yeah.
think, yeah, it's cool to talk about, making that balance. And I like particularly what you said about like not going out and looking for something to fill that space, because I think we've all fallen pressure to that. And I know me too personally, as you have this one area of the house, you're like, oh, something needs to go there to fill it. And so you just go and find the first random thing. You're like, oh yeah, that could probably work, and then like throw it in there.
Right.
Whereas if you were much more intentional and kind of let, I don't know, the item find you in a sense, then I think that that would probably be a lot more of an intentional way to go about it. So I really like that as well.
Yeah.
So
Well,
Cheyenne,
and
I
it,
hope that helps.
yeah, it's fun to have less, because when you are buying those things, you can have higher quality things because you're not getting a bunch of stuff. I'm bringing up Target. I mean, I love Target. I love Target. I love IKEA. I have a mid-century modern house. So IKEA, design within reach, like these things all kind of go together in my home. But I can have some of those things that are really nice because I only have one of them, or I know I'm going to keep it for a long time. Same thing for the clothes. So easy to, get that fast fashion. And I love the place I take my clients' clothes for consignment. That's like the only place I shop. And I'm like, oh, look, here is this designer. I would not normally spend $300, but it's $40 at consignment and it's going to last me. I'm way more likely to grab that than the throwaway fashion. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun. You get to, you still get to shop. You still get to have a warm home. It's just intentional.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that was a good little segue, because I just had one more question too that comes up, I know, for me personally when I try to do this a lot, because I feel like I like minimalism too, and I'm very, over the past 2 or 3 years even, I've just like decluttered a lot, and I do feel like I'm in a really good space with my stuff. But something that I would really struggle with, and I know a lot of women too in this community, we're big tree huggers here. So one problem that I would run into was when trying to declutter, but also not wanting to just throw things away because you don't want it to just, end up in the trash. So I was wondering if you had any tips for, and you've kind of already talked about it, consignment and things like that, but any tips for like redirecting your cartaways so they aren't just like landing in the garbage.
Right, right. Yeah, I know that there are Facebook groups that is it buy nothing. And if somebody in your community has created it, you can just post it for free. And the community, that's what they do. And so, they can pick it up. I do that a lot, even just on like Facebook, things that I have for free. My neighborhood, I'll put it out front and it will get, picked up by who knows who. One tip is for Goodwill, they will actually accept torn and stained clothes, textiles. They sell those to companies that make rags and stuffings and things like that. So if you do have this, you're like, oh, well, I don't want to give them my old sock. If you just keep those things separate, the torn things, and just bag it separately, that's going to stay out of a landfill. So I always encourage my clients to okay, let's get rid of the old t-shirts or whatever. That's still going to go to Goodwill. So that always makes me feel good. And then for my local trash, and you'd have to check, they will do the same thing. If you put textiles in a plastic bag and tie it so that it doesn't get wet or dirty, they will also separate those textiles. Because when you're at minimalism, it does feel so much better. But we all have things we need to get rid of. And like I said, the number one thing is getting it out of your space. The number two thing, can you do that in a thoughtful way? And being able to give it to somebody else is definitely, feels the best.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Good. Well, I think we're doing great on time. If anyone has any final questions in the chat, feel free to drop them in. But Amanda, I wanted to finish by asking how we as a community can be of service to you, which is how can we interact with you, how can we support you, and all those good things.
Yeah, thank you. I mentioned earlier my Instagram. I'm very active on Instagram and stories and IGTV, just sharing. Recently, in my highlights under holidays, I shared how I budget for the holidays, how I buy year after year, and I set a budget, and then I put that in an account every month so that it's not a surprise later. So things like that, and then lots of tips on your home and your closet and all those fun organizing things. And I have a team of other women, and we can transform a crazy cluttered garage in 5 or 6 hours, and we'll do a speeded up video and things like that. So please check me out on Instagram at Ever So Organized, and then there's a link to my website, eversoorganized.com. I am working on an online course to help people from wherever you are in the world to get through your items, change your mindsets, move towards minimalism. And so I'm hoping to launch that in the new year. So if you check that out, I would be very grateful. Thank you.
Of course, yeah. And I just dropped Amanda's Instagram there in the chat. And then if you scroll up a little bit, there's her decluttering PDF that you can access in there too. And then her website and all of the fun stuff. I want to go see those time lapses of you cleaning out a garage in 5 hours. That'd be super fun.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks for hopping on the end, Jules. She said she was at work, but now she's going to go back and watch the repeat. So.
Oh, yay.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you all so much. Amanda, thank you so much.
We connected.
Of course. Yeah. And we will be reaching out and connecting and sliding in your DMs to help us with all of the organizational needs. Who knows? I still have no idea how I'm going to fit all my junk into this car. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So I might be reaching out to you to see if I can give you a challenge.
Yes, I have some tips for you, but yeah, you are the extreme for sure. So you're going to be the pro.
Oh, good. Hopefully, we'll see. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all so much. Have a wonderful evening, y'all.
Thank you.
Okay. I think the live stream ended. I hit stop, so if it did, if it didn't, that's awkward. Hi, guys. But no, I'm pretty sure it's over. Okay. Yep, it's over. Cool. Okay, cool. Yay. Thank you so much.